Here are 3 strategies I put into my business in 2024 that are setting me up for massive growth in 2025. I'm going to show you what they are. Hey friends, I'm John T. Meyer, founder of Lead More and a business coach. I help solopreneurs double their monthly revenue without burning out. And I help CEOs optimize themselves and their teams so they can build great companies and still do what they love. So today what I want to do is walk you through 3 strategies that I have implemented over most of 2024, things I've been testing, trying, people that I went to and asked who are really good at these things that I learned from and hired and took their strategies and experiences. And now I'm starting to piece this sort of funnel together that is my plan and strategy to grow my business even more in 2025. So the first one starts with my good buddy, Dustin Riechmann. Dustin is the owner of 7 Figure Leap and actually runs an accelerator for teaching people and showing people how to do podcast guesting. He has grown a 7-figure business on the back of doing podcast guesting. Now he also has his own podcast. So for me, I've created this Lead More podcast for over 100 episodes, but I hadn't really thought of guesting as a strategy, right? I learn from others when I bring them on my show. I create content, I add value to my audience. But getting on other people's shows is reaching other people's audiences and thus growing your reach. At the end of the day, especially our services entrepreneur, but like a coach, people buy from people they know, like, and trust, right? And so Dustin in his accelerator shows you the value of podcast guesting, how to get on the shows, and what to do when you're on them. So in this video, I'm mixing up advice from past Lead More podcasts so you can see my strategy unpacked piece by piece. So let's go listen to Dustin about podcast guesting.
Podcast guesting is a great strategy, especially if you have any kind of online business, right? It's, if you're a local dentist, there's applications of this where it makes sense for reasons beyond lead generation. But really, if you're doing it to generate leads and grow a business, it needs to be a business that can sell online, because that's the beauty of podcasting, is it's so universally available to people, and you can reach many people at many different times, kind of asynchronously. So yeah, as long as you have an online business, that it's great. And although I got it done with Meat Sticks and we have some really cool stories, and grew that brand to 7 figures with that channel specifically, that's not the best application. The best application is really for, I think, more your audience, right? So coaches, consultants, agency owners. So people are doing like higher ticket services. Could be B2B. It could also be, B2C. We serve marriage coaches and parenting consultants and stuff like that. But mostly like B2B coaches, consultants, agency owners is like the sweet spot, because it's based more on quality than quantity. And so going deep with fewer people with this medium is really effective for people with that business model.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so you talked about like scaling around geography, having an online component. But earlier you also mentioned sort of I imagine part of the beauty of podcasting is like the intimacy, the trust, the authenticity. Like, tell me about why you think podcasting is such a good channel to build for marketers.
Yeah. So, if you're familiar with marketing, if you're listening to this and you know the cliche, know, like, and trust, right? Like, you got to know someone, you got to like them, you got to trust them. And as things have evolved or devolved, however you want to look at it, that's become much more difficult. So, it used to be like 7 touches, then it was, 27. Now I think it's like 700. I don't know. It's a lot of touch points before people recognize who you are, understand what you do, trust you enough to actually purchase something from you. Especially if you're selling a higher ticket, service, like you and I and a lot of our clients and your audience. One of the great things about podcasting is you get to kind of close that loop, or at least go very deep into that process, sometimes in one interview, right? So like in one interview, if you're teaching something people really care about and you're telling the stories in a way that really relate and connect, and you make that emotional connection, a lot of times people know, like, and trust you at least enough to like maybe opt into your world, but sometimes enough to even purchase from you from one interview.
All right, Dustin just hit it on it right there at the end. One interview, people will know, like, and trust you and decide to opt into your world. Now that could be simply join your newsletter, subscribe to your podcast, maybe download your guide or resource or whatever you offer up when you are a guest on someone's show. And then eventually, hopefully, book a call, right? And so now you see how We're getting reach and audience and new eyeballs and earballs at the top, and then going down mid-funnel to get people to opt into your world, to follow your content, grab their email, and maybe book a call. So that takes us to the next strategy. One thing I did at Lemonly, I led a lot of our sales growth and helped build our sales process, teach the next people to do sales. A lot of people don't like to do sales. They say, oh, sales is gross, so sales is icky. I'm not a salesperson. And the thing is, if you are a problem solver, if you are a storyteller, you can be a great salesperson, right? Sales is solving problems, explaining how your product or service can help somebody transform, and showing to see if it's the right fit, right? You don't have to be slimy and sell snake oil. You can add value. And that's what I learned this year and unlocked from a good friend of mine. John has also been a past guest of the show. He wrote a book that I read this year called Serve Call. And essentially what John did is broke down a framework. He's done over hundreds of these and helped his clients do these as well. A script, almost like a sales call framework that he calls a serve call. So first we're rebranding it to a serve call, and he'll talk about this in this clip about what that is and how to help rethink your job as a salesperson is to just add value, to serve them. So you might have heard this be called a discovery call, or we called it a clarity call in my Lemonly days. I call it a focusing session with coaching. So you can book on my calendar on calendly.com for free, a 45-minute call. And I will add so much value to you. I will help you get focused, help you get unstuck, and help you hopefully break through the clutter so that I can add value and potentially work with you further. And so John will explain that. That's exactly what the Serve Call framework is. The book is an awesome book. And in the podcast episode with John, we unpack the entire framework of what a serve call looks like. But I want you to listen to this clip where he talks about sort of how a serve call idea came to be.
To do these like discovery calls. People call them different things, right? Discovery call. I call mine a strategy session because I'm clever. We all have these like names like free coaching call, discovery. Sometimes you call it a sales call, but you've got like a, sometimes it's a compass call, whatever it is. You've got like a free conversation with someone before they become a client for like consulting or coaching or high ticket stuff. And I was doing that, but I really just like kind of hated it. And I didn't like who I was on those calls. And so I started kind of backing up because I believe words matter. And I was like, okay, why do I feel so much pressure like before I even start talking on those calls? And I realized it was because in my head, even if it had a clever name, it was a sales call. Mm-hmm. And John, what do you call a sales call where you don't make a sale?
A failure.
Yeah, a failure. So I set it up before the conversation even starts as a pass fail. And for most people on the planet, that means if you're setting up a sales call if you don't make a sale, it's a failure. You're going to fail most of the time because most people have a conversion rate that's less than 50%. Or, so it's like, that just sounds like bad design, right? Like high pressure, high stakes, stressful. And I learned all kinds of techniques, but that didn't really take that away emotionally. So for me, the idea of what's in the book Serve to Sell started as me just renaming it, like before there was a structure at all, of me just saying, well, what if I call it a serve call instead? Where every single time I meet with somebody, the goal is to serve them, for them to walk away and go, wow, that was amazing. And yes, let's do that in such a way that it leads to a sale. But even if it doesn't, let's make sure that both parties walk away grateful for the experience. And that's how it started.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. You had a line in the book that I guess I would consider this like an audit. Like if you're trying to ask yourself, am I doing serve calls or am I doing sales calls? There's that line that's like, do you finish up the small talk and then say, all right, now let's jump into it. Like, I can't remember exactly how you said that. And it's that idea of like, we've all been there, right? Where we feel like, okay, hard stop, small talk, get to know you. Now starts the pitch. The pitch
now
process.
I got to change now I have to change identities, right? That's usually what that is people, because people do that. You'll be on a call with somebody and be like talking about the wife and the kids or the dog or whatever. And then you're like, all right, let's get to business. And like you said, like that's a transition point where like what you just said was like, that conversation is over and now you get sales me.
Well, and I was always coached like, when it comes to sales, the yeses make us money. The no's save us money. It's sort of the maybes that you want to avoid, right? So if you actually take I'm here to serve approach, maybe it's just not a fit right now. But you still want to you don't want to burn a bridge. You still want to offer value. You want to be seen positively.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have people I meet with who by the end of the call, either they or me realize it first, but eventually we both realize they're not a good fit. But they still walk away going, this is super useful to me. And then all the time I get referrals from people who like, hey, I met with John. Can you imagine that? Like if that happened for a sales call, I met with John for a sales call 2 weeks ago, and I didn't buy his thing. You should go to his sales call.
All right, thanks for that explanation there, John. So you just heard the top of funnel and kind of middle funnel of how I try to grow my business. It's create content, whether it be my own podcast or guesting on podcasts, create content on social media, reaching out to people in the DMs, asking how I can help, asking how I can serve, guiding them to a Calendly link, super simple. Book a call on my calendar. Here's when I'm available. And then we're jumping on a serve call. And on those serve calls, I'm going to ask you, what are your roadblocks? Where are you trying to get? What would success look like for you? Tell me what you've tried so far, right? I'm going to connect with you in a valuable way where you hopefully know, like, and trust me. And then honestly, be straight up like, I think I can help you. Would you like me to show you how? Or I might not be a fit. I think I would recommend this person or this service or this tool, whatever it might be. That is how I'm going to grow my business. That's how I've started to grow my business this year and will continue in 2025. So the last piece I wanted to unpack is another good friend, Jordan Godbey. Jordan is the community guy, or maybe more specifically, the Circle guy. If you've heard of Circle, is an online community platform. And this is one of my favorite recent Lead More podcast episodes. Jordan breaks down his framework of the 4 types of online paid communities. And it's based on like sort of structure and sort of investment and sort of the 4 different communities. I'm not going to break down all 4. You can go listen to the podcast, but I'll talk to you about the one that I've been building this year. I'm really excited about in 25. It's the transformational community, right? This is a higher ticket, high touch, probably low quantity, less people in an online community where they're looking for big wins. They're looking for transformation. They're looking to grow their business, double their monthly revenue without burning out, right? And they want to do so with other people on their journey. And so adding this circle group to my business this year has been a huge boom because I coach in a few different ways. I have my No More Solo for solopreneurs. I have my one-on-one for those CEOs growing in the 500K to a couple million in revenue. I lead a CEO roundtable here in Sioux Falls. And then I've also done some what I call corporate coaching where I come in and work with teams. The thing about coaching is you come in, you teach, whether it be Zoom or in person. When the call is done, the thing is done. Like everything that's said, the questions that were asked sort of fade into the ether, right? Like the moment is done. Certainly, they can take notes and certainly they can have huge wins and move on. But it would be nice to be creating something that can live longer than just that moment. And so for me, Circle has become this place of resources, of takeaways, of recorded calls, some templates, some guides that I can offer and customize to the right person, and they know that it's there for them. So it adds a lot of extra value. It's sort of that preservation or like kind of parachute. If I need it, when I need it, I'll go get it type of thing. And that has really been where we're trying to, the transformation happens during the coaching, but the transformation community continues that coaching 24/7, 7 days a week, 365. And that's exactly what Jordan talks about when he explains what makes the transformational community unique from other types of communities. So take a listen to Jordan.
A lot of times I talk about that this works really well for heart-centered leaders, entrepreneurs, coaches, because they truly do care about the success of their students and they do know them. And so, not saying like in the bottom left in the peer community that Dave doesn't care about his community and his audience, but he just can't invest the resources and the time and energy to make sure everyone is going to have a successful career and all of that stuff. So it's really around aligning the incentives and having an appropriate amount of support and value for the price that they pay. And that's why I've always been a fan of higher ticket, because I really want to make sure that my clients succeed. And so I want to be able to spend the time and the energy and have my team be involved and do whatever it takes. And so you've got to charge appropriately for that.
Jordan, maybe speak to when again, it's back to that how we all define community, but that top right bucket, some people might think, oh, it could just be a bunch of Zoom calls. Like, why do I need this community aspect? Like, we're all getting on the call together. We can talk. We're in community. But what type of things do I get to enhance? And let's just say Circle, for instance.
Yeah. So I think we've all probably had our genius shower ideas moments, right? Where you've been thinking about the problem and you're like, oh yes, that's what I need to do. Imagine if you have to wait 6 more days before you can talk about it, because you had the Zoom call yesterday and now you're getting the ideas. That's the problem, is Zoom only programs are still a form of fragmentation and isolation, because as soon as the Zoom call ends, we're disconnected again. So the community works as a connective tissue that is holding us all together. It's holding together the courses and the resources that I can access at any time. It's holding the recordings of all the calls. And then it's the 24/7 place that I can go to submit my work, to share ideas, to ask for help and support and feedback. And other people can respond over time. So we can actually have really rich conversations happening over days and weeks. And those are happening all in between the cracks, in between the Zoom calls.
Yeah. It's, because these people they're not on call to be your coach or your thought leader, but you might be building your business at the different times than everybody else, right? Wee hours of the morning or weekends so that makes a lot of sense. I think maybe you told me, I know so few people actually watch the recordings, but there is like some extra value, at least some perceived value too in that community. It's like, if I miss a call, I can go get the call. There's also maybe some templates or swipe files, or like other library of resources that can live inside a community.
Yes,
those are some of the other perks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Having different templates, having tools, even curation is a huge value. So all of the value doesn't have to come from you. It could be, hey, here's a list of, a few YouTube videos and podcasts that have been really valuable and impactful for me. I suggest you check them out as well, because you're on the journey that I was on 6 months ago or 2 years ago. So you're kind of following in my footsteps. These were the things that I was consuming, probably be helpful for you as well. So now you've cut through the noise again and you're giving them signal. These are a couple books. These are a couple YouTube. These are a couple, podcasts to check out. Those just add massive value, but it's all in one easy, accessible place inside your private community.
All right. Thank you, Jordan, for unpacking the transformational community. Thank you to Dustin, to John, and to Jordan, 3 people who have entered my life in 2024 as friends, as mentors, as coaches, people who have helped make me better. And I wanted to both highlight their knowledge, sort of showcase some of those recent Lead More episodes, but put it together to unpack and connect the dots on how I'm building the strategy. So I started doing podcast guesting this late spring, summer with Dustin, learned how to implement and structure sales calls this summer with John. I started a circle community back in January. It continues to get better each quarter. A lot of help from Jordan. I'm just really excited about what that infrastructure has done for me in 24, but what that foundation will give me to grow my business in 2025. That's it here for the video. If you want to book a serve call with me, I don't always do this, but I'm gonna put the link here below in the comments. You can book a serve call, a focusing session is what I call it. And I'll help you get unstuck. We'll take some time, we'll help you get unstuck, figure out where the bottleneck is, where are your roadblocks to help you grow, set yourself up for a great 2025. All right, for more videos like this to help grow your business, to help double your monthly revenue without burning out, without adding complexity, click subscribe below. Thank you.